Hey guys, so I woke up at like 5:11, just like with this feeling of just wow, I don't even know what. But I really want to talk a little bit about the process that God has been putting me through. So yesterday, as you all know, I had a situation where this guy I was kind of talking to, I thought it was romantic, but it wasn't. So, what happened was he hit on my friend right in front of me and even lied to my face, and then, basically tried to hit on my friend, and so I felt really betrayed. And so strangely enough, he called me yesterday and we had a talk, and I just found myself with this like anger in my heart. And it was like this type of anger that rage almost, but I felt my heart was gonna explode. Like, I just felt so much anger, and, I found myself not being able to verbalize and even, like, raising my voice and yelling a little bit and even cussing, and I was like, "Wow, I'm really angry at him because I felt betrayed and I felt played, essentially, and I was just talking to my friend about it, and I was like, "You know, a part of my heart didn't feel because I really did care about him, but I felt like my heart was saying like, "No, you're not allowed to care about him because he doesn't care about you, romantically. He just sees you as a friend." But the thing is, I'm not really friends with someone who I don't even know that well. So, essentially, I saw it as, "Oh, we were kind of romantic," and I thought that was the case, but it wasn't. So I'm processing through a lot of that, and I realize that it really does have to do with my dad. So yesterday I was sharing like a testimony with a Lyft driver. So it was around 11:30 p.m. and God was like, go to Pasadena. So I took a Lyft drive, and this guy's name was Jose. He was around 60 years old. And so he's a father figure, and he said that all of his family, his kids, his mom, oh no, his parents are passed away, but his wife even is in Mexico, and he's been here for 40 years. And I felt, oh my gosh, that the number 40 was also significant. 40 years like in the desert, right? Um I believe it's 40 years, but the children of God, like the Israelites, wandered for 40 years. So whenever I talk to people and they're like, "Oh, I haven't seen my parents for like 10 years." I did not see my dad from 8 to 18. So that was 10 years. And then so basically I had a realization that wow, like I think if I was really to have a real talk with my dad, like a lot of anger would still come out because I don't think I've ever expressed it fully. I've written a letter to him, I've written his messages, and I've even talked to him about it, but I feel like the amount of anger that would probably come out, I don't even know what to expect. And the thing is, so as I got on this Lyft drive and I was telling him, like, yeah, I didn't see my dad for 10 years. I received Jesus when I was 12. And okay, basically I was talking to my best friend about this whole situation with how um this guy tried to hit on her in front of me and even lied to my face and then did it like really sneakily. I said like when I was talking to this guy, I felt in my heart like don't talk to me and like don't feel anything because you're not allowed to care about someone that treated you that bad. And I think that's how I feel like about my dad, that I hate that I care about him and it feels like he doesn't care about me. And it hurts to care about someone that doesn't seem to give any crap about you. Like, and I don't know who you are or whether you have the same issues with your father or mother, like you've not even grown up with them, but it's just like I've tried my whole life really to build a relationship with my dad, and I would reach out to him, but he would never reply really. And it's like I want to like not care about him, but I do. And that itch, and it's weird because sometimes I'll have like an itch on my neck and I'm like, oh, I'm itchy, right? It's like I definitely know that God has been preparing me for marriage. And that's an issue really that has been coming up a lot as God just brings me to men recently. Oh my gosh, like all of my divine appointments, um, ministry wise, has been men. Like God will tell me, hey, go to Pasadena or go to Hollywood or, go to Santa Monica. And like either if I'm riding a Uber or Lyft, like the the driver will be a guy and it'll be like working through some issue, right? As I talk to them, it's like, whoa, it's like the same issues, or like they've cheated on their wives, my dad cheated on my mom, or whatever, right? So it'd be working through the same issues that I have in my heart. But I think what really triggered some of the issues that I had in my heart towards my dad was when someone that I thought we were seeing and talking to each other in that way romantically, he comes and says, "No, I'm not interested in you like that, and I just see you as a friend." I felt humiliated and I felt um, embarrassed and I felt like played. And but all this anger came out, and I was like, "Wow!" Like I really had a protective mechanism around my heart when it came to guys, and I didn't even realize it. And it really like got triggered and kind of crumbled when I got betrayed and lied to. And um I'm just praying that God will continue to heal my heart because those are some really intense issues. But the biggest thing is I hate that I care about someone who doesn't seem to care about me. And I know that my dad does love me deep down, but he doesn't show it. And so what this situation really triggered for me was like, okay, so this guy says he likes me as a friend, but he lies to my face, right? And basically wrote down information for my friend, and I was asking, "Hey, what are you writing down?" Are you writing a number for my friend? And he said, "No, I'm writing down the time I'm supposed to wake up." So he lies to me and my friend about it, then later on gives that paper to her behind my back while we're walking. So I have not had like someone lie to me that blatantly. Um, Probably I've been lied to, but this case was like, oh, I found out. So it was like, I think it was hard because so my dad cheated on my mom too. And these are issues basically that I was like, "Oh, well, this is part of my testimony and I wanna be over it, like, emotionally." But I realized, like, that's something that God's been working out in my heart, healing me of. But it's pretty intense. Like, sometimes I'll get on these rides and immediately I'll know, like, if the guy has cheated on his wife before. So I'll hear the word, like, cheating, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh." And I'll be like, "Hey, have you, like, cheated on your wife?" And they'll confide in me, they'll tell me why they did it, things like that. And I'll like God would be like, "Hey, ask about his mom," or, like, ask about his dad, ask about his wife, like so all these secrets will come out and, having to do with, like, men, and then I realized, like, wow. no wonder I've had to, in the last, geez, almost a year, like since October, God has been sending men to me like nonstop. A lot of them are father figures. But he's just doing some quick, intense healing in my heart regarding fathers, regarding men, regarding my future potential husband, right? And I think you always like you don't know the issues that you have until they come up through tension and traction. A lot of times we're like, no, I'm fine. I don't have issues. But once you start dating, once you start talking to men or women in your case, those issues start to come up about your mom, about your father, about how you view men or women. They don't come out, or you don't know that you have trust issues until you start to talk to men or you start to talk to women. And that's why I think a lot of times people are like, oh, I just want to wait, right? To be ready to get married or date. And God hasn't really done that in my case. Like, he showed me, like, I mean, I've literally met probably hundreds of men in the last month. Like, every day, the divine appointments, they're all men, and they're all father figures, or they're all just, and I was like, "Oh God, why am I just meeting father figures?" Like, they're older people, and I'll, like, spend time with them, I'll talk to them. Just I think the other day, I had a divine appointment. He was a Jewish father figure, and he had a dream. So he's Jewish. The night before, he tells me, I was walking up a mountain. It was muddy, and someone was helping me push the car, and it sped up. And then he said to the person helping him, "Why are you helping me outside of the car? You should be inside the car." And the funny thing is, then I got him and I interpreted it. So I said, "Hey, there's some mud in your life. There's some unclear areas." And I said, "Hey, like, do you have issues with someone in your life, a relationship?" And he said, "Oh, my daughter, because I almost disowned her for lying to me." Um, Basically, she was lying about needing money, um, because she was basically using it for drugs. And so she was lying to him and saying, "Oh, I'm getting help. I'm going to rehab," but she wasn't, and she was using the money for drugs, lying to her own dad about it because they don't live in the same city. Um, so he's like, "Oh yeah, I almost disowned her because of it." So at first he was like, "Oh, I wish that, you saw me as a kind of more of a romantic partner." I was like, "No, I actually see you as a father figure, um, because you're too old for me." So we went to the beach. We spent some time together. It was very healing, and and it was weird. It was very weird. Like, it's weird, I think, hanging out with a father figure and like seeing that amount of care towards me. Like, I think the amount of care that I never really got growing up. And a part of me does feel like, oh, I am overreacting regarding like this guy like lying to my face and hitting on my friend. Cause he was like, "Are you in love with me?" I was like, "No." But I'm just used to like a guy not really caring about how I feel. So it feels weird that he's like reaching out to me and he wants to talk about it. Like, he wants to make things okay. It's just very strange to me because I'm so used to guys like being like, I don't care, like, I don't care about you, or even like just disappearing after having a conflict or confrontation. So he just kept saying, like, "I just want to be your friend. I just want to be your friend." In my heart, I'm like, why do you want to be my friend? Like, I don't even know you that well. So I'm just used to relationships that just like if they don't work out, someone cuts someone off, like someone disappears, right? And maybe that's also a pattern because of how my dad's treated me. Like, okay, I'm just not gonna talk to my daughter like ever and reach out to her or say happy birthday. I think my dad has said happy birthday to me like once in my life. And I feel like there are so many people out there that have parents like that who just are have been absent your whole life and it does affect you. Like I thought it didn't, but like I realized like wow, it did because I put up this invisible wall in my heart to protect myself from men in general like and the weird thing it's happened again even with my brother where I called him out and I was like, "Hey, like if you are, if you're doing this or that, like if you're we're okay with it. Me and mom were okay with it. Like we love you." But he's kind of shut me out of his life completely. Um like we don't talk anymore because I called him out on it and even though I reached out to him, it was like, "Oh, rejection, like, hey, I'm not going to talk to you." So, yeah, there's a lot of issues really, like communication issues in my family. Um, but I don't wanna live like that. If God is preparing me for my marriage partner, I wanna be able to communicate how I feel at all times. And I think this situation with my friend and stuff, like it really brought out a lot of anger issues that I had towards men in general, but towards my dad specifically. Um, I think when you care about a family member that never talks to you, even when you reach out to them multiple times, it feels like exasperating. It feels like, um, I don't know, especially during this time, like you just want to focus on like, oh, I lack that. But I feel God is saying like you're enough, you're not lacking, um, like the Father loves you and that you don't have to strive. But there's definitely a lot of breakthroughs that's been happening in my heart where it's like stuff that I've never ever felt. Like, I don't know, I've been feeling so many emotions, like my heart, it will like have this intense pain, or like I'll start to feel like extreme anger or I feel sadness. But it's like now I can actually feel my emotions because for a long time I was pretty numb or I didn't, it's like my heart didn't feel those emotions really. Like, um, I just kind of numbed myself without realizing it. And that's what kids do when they feel like they have to protect themselves from feeling intense sadness or intense pain. And so, yeah, I just pray that God will continue to heal your heart and your mind and that you'll be able to receive compliments, encouragement, and love and that your heart will be open to love. So like even yesterday night, like the Lord was telling me to go see someone and I was like, dude, it's 11 o'clock, like it's too late. But I realized that I'm gonna obey God completely now because I realized like I can't break through some of these issues until I obey and continue to reveal myself into relationships, reveal myself by talking to people and understanding why is it that I feel certain things. And those things, those healings don't come until like you open that, like, you just take the bandage off and you look at, hey, what's going on in there? Why is that not healing? Or, hey, why does that hurt so bad? Why is it that it feels like there's salt on a wound? And um, it's only by interacting with people and having those experiences, even negative ones, even the drama, that I've started to realize like why I feel how I feel. So there was another instance recently where there's a divine appointment. He was all Salvadorian, and he's like, I've been yearning for a friend that is a girl. So so that day, like, God was like, "Oh, go hang out with him." And um so one day we hung out and we talked. What is that? Don't tell me that's a spider. I'm gonna kill it. Oh. Anyway, so we hung out, and then but then, like, he started to act really strange, like texting me or calling me and telling me that I'm not valuing the friendship that I have with him. And I was like, we only met each other for 1 week. Like, why is he expecting so much out of me as a friend? And like, it was just bringing up a lot of issues. And he was basically saying that I wasn't putting a lot of value on the friendship. And I was like, well, I'm friends with people that I built trust with, rapport with. I don't just easily say that someone's a friend of mine, right? So I have a best friend now, and we pray together, and we talk about God, and we talk about guys, like we talk about everything, right? And so when someone comes into my life and says, "Hey, you're not valuing our friendship," I like question that because I'm like, okay, I don't even know you that well. How can I be friends with you? Right? If anything, I'm friends with people overseas that I talk to on Skype, even more than I'm friends with him. But it just showed me like, oh, he has abandonment issues, or he has rejection issues. And strangely, like, I'm not even kidding. So I've given out my number to like a lot of people. I don't really care who has it. And like strangely, like some people will text me after 3 weeks and be like, "Hey, do you remember me? I met you, blah 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 blah." And I'll be like, "Huh, who's this?" And like one dude was like, he was like, "Oh, it's Carlos. I dropped you off in Pasadena or something." He's like, "Oh, if you don't remember me, it's okay. Good night." And I'm like, "Oh." So I feel like sometimes people will try to reject themselves before they can be rejected. Cause essentially I could be like, "Hey, like, I don't know who you are. Stop texting me." You know what I mean? But I find that guys are so scared of rejection that they would rather reject themselves first. So even with this guy friend that I was talking about, he was like, "Okay, don't even try, like, our friendship is over." And I'm like, "What?" Like, it's very strange to me, how people will reject themselves before I can reject them. So I feel like for guys, it's even harder to admit, like, hey, you care about someone that doesn't really care about you, or whatever, And it's like guys are even less able to emote or to express themselves. So I don't even know how they deal with having father issues, or if you have an absent father, like how that kind of anger could build up in your heart. Whereas now it's like I'm actually trying to talk about it more. I'm even trying to be honest with men in my life, trying to work through those issues that are coming up. But for one, having been lied to and feeling those emotions, like that's that's been kind of the hardest thing, is like, whoa, like that anger is real. It's like it almost feels like when I was expressing how I felt like I was zoned out. I couldn't even talk. Do you know what I mean? Like my heart was so angry that like I felt completely blank in my mind and I couldn't talk. I think the crazy thing is most of my life, because I suppressed anger, um when I start to talk about how I feel in terms of anger, right? I feel totally out of control and I'm like, "Oh my god, I haven't released this kind of anger in my heart out of my heart." And I don't know, I guess like for a long time I just wasn't triggered by people, and so it had to take a guy that I thought we were romantic to and then him betraying me and him lying to me to show me like, oh, okay, there's a deep-seated anger that I haven't expressed at all. I haven't allowed myself to express because growing up Christian, it was like, oh, like don't be angry, don't show negative emotions, and which was actually detrimental to my growth, because I wasn't able to just be honest and just be real with people because it was like, oh, you have to portray this fake self, you have to portray positivity. But all of that, then what happens is you don't deal with the root issue, you don't deal with the root problems because you're told like being negative is wrong. And so I realized that like however you feel, please know that it's valuable and it's worthy to be felt. Don't ever invalidate how you feel, and don't allow anyone to tell you like you're not allowed to feel that way. Um, because you do, and your heart is there, and your heart does feel that way. So, um, yeah, there's probably a lot more I want to talk about, but let's just end there for now. It's getting really intense, obviously. This is like a deep healing journey that we're all on. And I thank you for joining me on this journey of healing. And, um, God's told me that my first like published book is going to be about marriage. And now I realize why. Because for me to meet my husband and get married, that's going to be such a breakthrough in my life because my mom's just lived with bitterness like for like the last 20 years because of what happened with my dad, him betraying her, him cheating, with different women, and like that kind of bitterness really seeped into who I was because she would talk about him in a very negative light. And so I had a lot of anger and bitterness towards him that really came from my mom talking bad about him. And it's like, it's hard to overcome that when your mom has acted that way like your whole life. So I just pray that whatever situation you are in your family, like that you don't have to suppress how you feel, that you can talk to someone about it, you can open up to them, you know, and find that space of safety. And so anyways, I pray that this message helped you. Remember to subscribe to my blog and to if you like to sow a seed to this ministry, everything helps, for me to continue to reach out to people, the lost sheep, homeless people, drug addicts, people who feel orphaned by their parents who are homeless because of that. These are the people that I reach out to. Even the father figure that I was in the car with yesterday night, um, the Lord told me to tell him, hey, go home, you know, go home to your family. Like, you shouldn't live the rest of your life trying to work so that you can provide for them. What your kids need is to spend time with you, you know? So I pray that, um, so yeah. So I appreciate any of your financial support, and I appreciate your prayers, and I pray that the Lord will bless every seed that you sow. And yeah, I can't even imagine what's to come because like the type of healing God is doing in my heart is like immense. And I know that whoever is on this journey with me, you're going to have breakthroughs in your heart. You're going to have um like such a story. Like some people they just meet their husband and it's like whatever. They meet their wives and it's whatever. But I really feel like for me that story is going to be something that will touch people for the rest of my life and moving forward, because I am sure that there are the people who grew up with dads or mothers that were absent for the all of their lives. I minister to people who say, "I've never met my dad. I never met him," you know? Or I grow up with people who or I minister to people who have been adopted and who don't even know their parents. These are the types of people that I reach out to, that God leads me to. And that is some deep wounding. Like, that is it makes you feel like, does God even care about me? But God does. God does. God cares about you. God loves you. And, until you break through in your heart about that truth, it's very easy to believe a lie that, hey, God doesn't love you and that God doesn't care. And when you believe that lie, what happens is you live the rest of your life kind of dealing with that lie, like, and what happens is you sabotage relationships that could be good, right? So you self reject. So even if like a relationship is going well, in order to protect yourself, you'll sabotage. And I have found this true in my own life, where I don't want to work through certain issues and I don't want to talk about it in the past, anyways. And that really has destroyed a lot of relationships in my life. Now I'm coming to a point where I'm learning to be honest, even when I feel the emotions very strongly, to talk through things and to be honest. And but it hurts. It definitely hurts. And I think most of us want to go through issues and problems on our own. But like, you need to come into relationships. You need to start talking about your problems and your issues more, so that God could bring it into light and then heal it. We all need that, dude. Like, I think that's why, like, recently, even when it's late, God will be like, hey, reach out to this person, reach out to that person, because essentially, like, you don't want to die alone. And so many of us are struggling on our own, trying to make it on our own, when in fact, we need to bring people in. We need help in this healing process. We cannot heal on our own. So I just encourage you, like, hey, like, you need help, you need someone to talk to, like, reach out. Don't do it alone. You need help. I need help. Like, we all need to do this together and like come into the light together. And I just want to like say that even when you're dating or like becoming friends with guys or girls or whatever, it's not necessarily about like, oh, this isn't my husband, so I'm not going to talk to them anymore. But it's even dealing with the issues and talking about them openly, right, with whoever, and they will get healing from talking about their issues, that you start to see, hey, it's not black and white. I think a lot of people are just like, oh, dating is just about like getting to the end goal. But you don't realize that God is healing you through different people and their experiences, and you need to be open to talking. You need to be open to listening and realizing, like, oh, wow, okay, this is all healing my heart of the issues that I have regarding marriage, regarding my father, regarding my mother, and to be open, to be that open, right? So that's what I'm realizing, and I pray that this helped you. Again, thanks for watching. Bye.